Across the board right now, some of the biggest corporations in America are going from being the largest proponents of rainbow capitalism, being the first to change their profile pictures every Pride Month to a rainbow, to dropping it ever since Trump took office. The last 2 to 1 years have been a consistent trend of corporations dropping virtue signaling and rhetoric that signals progressive politics. A very clear symptom of where America seems to be right now. These corporations, despite being called woke incessantly, take Disney for example, the subject of this video, have been called woke incessantly. And woke wasn't used as like an accurate label for what politics these companies held or what politics they espoused. It was used as a derogatory insult for the idea that promoting left-wing politics is part of an agenda with evil intentions. And what I want to emphasize here is that Disney and all these other corporations never had an agenda that wasn't making money. They've always followed the money, and for a while, the money was very obviously in signaling progressive politics. And yet we've experienced a significant pendulum swing as a country, or at least it feels like we have. Trump won in a devastatingly massive victory in 2024, and now we're in an America that feels like it's backslid over a decade in social progress. In some areas, it feels like we've gone back to the 60s in social progress. America feels like it's more divided and violent and hateful than ever right now. And to add a cherry on top of this shit sandwich, or shit sundae we'll call it, Disney. The wokest of woke companies, a company that I wouldn't necessarily say I've defended, but I've certainly called out those that have tried to accuse it of having a woke agenda, have gone and proven everything I said right. That they never held any actual progressive ideology. They weren't pushing any real ideological agenda. They were just saying whatever cringy, over-the-top virtue signal they thought would get them rage clicks and positivity clicks from the respective sides. They knew that would make them money, and that's what they did. And now they seem to know that appeasing Trump and the right will make them money. Only this time around, it's looking like they've actually made the wrong call. Disney has gone anti-woke and is unironically going broke. This is no joke. Bars. Jimmy Kimmel was fired by Disney in an attempt to appease Trump after he threatened to sue. Once again, just like with Colbert. He's of course being brought back, but only after immense complaining from Disney's audience. Record amounts of cancellations of Disney Plus, record amounts of people unfollowing Disney and just like refunding or cutting off their subscriptions to their services and anything that's related to them. It has been an overwhelming wave of boycotting that has led to Disney's stock price tanking by record numbers. Disney's stock price hasn't even tanked this bad during a recession in my lifetime. It's really wild to see that in reality, it's go anti-woke, go broke. I always knew this to be true. I've even said this to be true. And we know that these marketing companies in the past wouldn't have been pushing the politics that they were if they didn't know it made money. But to see them pivot and then for it to immediately blow up in their faces, because the reality was that even if the right is loud and angry, they aren't actually the majority. They aren't actually the people paying to enjoy these products. They're just people on the sidelines yelling and complaining. Like, they didn't seem to accurately realize that. And so now, appeasing the Trump administration has hurt them in multiple ways. For one, Disney has permanently lost swaths of supporters and customers by firing Kimmel in the first place. There are many people who will never, ever come back to give money to Disney again after this. But then on top of all of that, moving into the topic of this segment, Disney has buckled and has announced they will be returning Jimmy Kimmel to the air, which is no doubt going to piss off the chuds even more. So all the goodwill that Disney just made with the right evaporates. If not, they get even worse, representation. They look worse to the right now, and they look really bad to the left. So Disney has just hurt itself from both political sides. The left will never forgive Disney, and the right now thinks Disney is cucked and was unable to follow through on something quote-unquote base that they did. So if you're interested in this topic, leave a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to sub, and let's get right into this. because Jimmy Kimmel is coming back. Disney has buckled.
Disney is bringing him back on the air tomorrow. ABC says in a statement that we made the decision last week to suspend production to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment. But now, after having...
Mind you, by the way, like, Kimmel literally didn't say anything offensive about Charlie Kirk. The only insult he made about anyone when talking about the Charlie Kirk story was referencing Trump trying to weaponize Charlie Kirk's death for political gain. Trump was the only person he criticized. In fact, at no point did Kimmel ever shit-talk Charlie Kirk. I went back and I watched. In fact, do you want to know what the most significant thing Kimmel has said about Charlie Kirk himself was? It was immediately after the news came out. I believe the tweet was something along the lines of, "The idea of someone being killed for what they believe is monstrous. My heart goes out to Charlie Kirk's wife and children. Political violence in this country needs to stop." Like it was like very, very clearly like his heart goes out to his family, and he sees the killer as like a deranged monster. Like, this was like 20 minutes after the news came out that Charlie Kirk was shot. That was what he posted on Twitter. That was like all he'd said. And then he goes on his show, doesn't even insult Charlie Kirk or criticize him, just references the fact that his death is being weaponized by Trump, and now all of a sudden what he said is so out of pocket about a dead man that he needs to have his show taken off TV. It is so blatantly obvious that it wasn't because he said anything out of pocket. Had he said a joke even, people might buy that. But this was just blatant censorship. The only negative thing that Kimmel said was about Trump, and Trump was the one who ordered his cancellation. In fact, Trump said after he got Colbert taken down that he heard, quote-unquote, heard that Jimmy Kimmel would be next.
Having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, the ABC says, we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday. So Kimmel's getting back to work.
Wow, Brian, that is significant, especially given that some of the players outside of Disney in a corporate setting, like Nexstar and Sinclair, they essentially have deals that allowed them to preempt his show, and that's part of the reason that it was suspended. Yeah. Do we know how they might react to this?
We don't, and that becomes the big question now. Will these local station affiliates choose to air Jimmy Kimmel Live, or will they continue to protest the comedian even though the network is bringing him back nationwide? ABC does gently chastise Kimmel in this statement.
Kirk wasn't confirmed dead for like at least a few hours, though. Yeah, before Kirk had even been confirmed dead, Kimmel had already put out a tweet, like, sending his sympathies to his family and calling out the killer, regardless of what side they're on, as a, like, deranged freak who killed someone over what they had to say. And as much as, you know, we might see that as a cucked take, the right trying to use that, like trying to claim that guy went too far criticizing Charlie Kirk, is insane, bro.
The statement says, quote, the decision to suspend him, we made it because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. So they're very gently saying they disagreed with Kimmel last week, but obviously they're bringing him back as of tomorrow.
And we don't know, obviously, all of the considerations that went into this, Brian. But I would say leaders, obviously, at ABC and Disney have had the benefit of a few days of feedback.
Yeah. Including from Disney employees who were very disturbed, including from Hollywood stars and showrunners, the kind of people Disney...
Over 400 A-lists, like, you know all of their names just from, like, you could hear their last name and you know who's being talked about. Like, over 400 massive A-list celebrities all came out to to sign a petition calling for Kimmel to have his show brought back. Like, it was like Brad Pitt, Lady Gaga, fucking like just go down the list and it's all like, damn, these are A-listers, like A+ listers, S-listers, you know, like the guys. I hit 150, now I'm back to 120? Huh? I'm confused by what you're talking about, Morgan Natsu. I followed it live. Yeah, like it's a ridiculous amount of big Hollywood actors that came out to say bring him back.
Wants to work with, and from free speech groups, politicians, even some Republican politicians like Ted Cruz. We know the condemnation of Disney has been widespread. Now, what we don't know yet,
like Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep, like all big names.
that is what the counter reaction will be from President Trump and his allies.
That's a really good point. Brian, please stand by. Terry, your reaction to this news?
It's great news. It's great news. And I think you're absolutely right, and Brian is absolutely right. This was a community standing up for the rights of Jimmy Kimmel and all people who speak
Freedom
in
of
public,
speech.
entertainers, and we're journalists. And
Guys, freedom of speech, freedom of speech, freedom of speech, First Amendment. We need to be hammering this like we're smithing a sword, dude. Like, it needs to be a steady rhythm, non-stop, of the right is attacking free speech, the right is attacking free speech, the right is attacking free speech, the right is attacking jokes, the right is shutting down comedians, the right is shutting down comedy. Like, we need to be attacking them on this front hard. The right strawmanned us, claiming this about us for years and years and years. Now the right is actually doing it from a position of government power, and it's time for us to just completely rip their rhetoric, because it's true when we say it about them. Because now they're in power, and they say your jokes are too mean about the political pundit, and now you need to have your show taken off the air and maybe face legal consequences.
all of them, and it worked at least with the head of Disney, and it makes good sense because they would have won in court. One thing that gets lost in this: you do not lose your First Amendment rights because you have a broadcast license. Supreme Court has been clear on this. The government cannot take your license because of speech they don't like.
You were talking about Katharine Graham when the news broke, and these are the considerations of these bigger companies about how they're going to handle this and how they're going to think about it. They do have the benefit of some history as they do consider the.
Remember, this isn't a matter of, does Jimmy Kimmel have the freedom to not be fired for what he says? That's not what the conversation is about here. If the company doesn't like what he says and wants to fire him, we can call it cringe and call it out, but at the end of the day, it's a private company. It has the freedom to do that, right? The problem is, in this case, a lot of these private companies that broadcast and air his show don't feel like, or probably don't, have the choice or have the right to decide whether or not they want to continue platforming Kimmel. You've got the president threatening to sue if your network criticizes him, or if your network, airs anything criticizing him. And so you feel like it's either the president comes after you with lawfare, or you fire the talk show host that criticizes him. It's not the corporations, the private companies, privately of their own accord choosing to make a decision here. It is the president giving them a legal ultimatum, forcing them to choose firing Kimmel. It's not that Kimmel said something controversial and lost his job over it. It's that the president went to his job and said, fire him or you will suffer legal consequences, thus giving that private corporation no choice but to fire Kimmel. Trump is threatening to take away these networks' broadcasting license, something that the federal government does not have the right to do. Because a broadcasting license is not a platform. A broadcasting license is literally having paid for the licensing to be able to broadcast yourself on the airwaves. If you don't have a license to do that, you're a pirate station and thus breaking the law by broadcasting yourself at all. Right? The idea of shutting down your right to have a broadcasting license because of speech is insane. This is way beyond, getting banned from Twitter. This is like if the federal government decided to ban Twitter.
These moves.
Right. Well, Katharine Graham, when Nixon threatened to take her FCC, the Washington Post's FCC licenses, they had some local stations. It was a main source of income. She published them anyway. She said, forget about it. And that kind of corporate courage is rare, especially in the face of an administration that exceeds by many orders of magnitude any other presidency trying to silence speech it doesn't like.
If we still have Brian, I want to go back to him because one of the interesting bits of reporting that we got over the last few days was that Kimmel was actually preparing a monologue that would up the ante against some of the feedback that he got from the Trump administration. I mean, can you imagine, Brian, what might be formulating in terms of a response when he gets back on the air?
Hey, Kimmel.
I never thought I'd say this, but I am so excited for this week's episode of Jimmy Kimmel.
Wanted to defend himself. So now Tuesday night's monologue becomes even more interesting. What he will be critical, and it might affect what local stations decide to do going forward.
Yeah, certainly will. I want to know what you think, Terry, about just sort of.
You guys know what would be the craziest thing ever? You know who would be the most insane person to come out in defense of Jimmy Kimmel on this? Markiplier. Those who know. How crazy would that have been?
Sort of the moment that we are in when it comes to free speech. And I also want to play a moment from the White House press briefing today. This was a correspondent for Turning Point USA Frontline, associated with the group that Charlie Kirk founded, who asked the White House press secretary what her message is to Americans who are too afraid to express their beliefs. Here's a brief part of what Caroline Levitt said.
We have a right to free speech in this country. The president supports it. It is protected by our beautiful Constitution. And Americans should not cower in fear. They should rise up in courage to continue speaking the truth.
What do you think about what you're hearing from the White House there as we just get this news that Jimmy Kimmel will return to air tomorrow night?
Right. Well, see what the White House says. Everybody should speak up except the ones that the president doesn't like. He just barked at my former colleague, Jonathan Karl. Maybe we'll come after you because I don't like the content of your news coverage. All of this is bedrock First Amendment rights that we all have. And I think they've overreached here. Most Americans, even many who support President Trump, did not like the kind of gangster talk that the head of the FCC said, you can do this the easy way, you can do it the hard way. And they understand how precious this right is, even for people that they disagree strongly with. There's good common sense about our First Amendment rights, and I think Trump is running up against that.
Yeah, Senator Ted Cruz said it was out of Goodfellas, to your point there.
This is just, we really need to be hammering the point that the right is attacking free speech right now. That, this is beyond any, private companies deciding to ban your platform. This is the government telling private companies to ban your platform or face legal consequences. This is beyond the pale. If your favorite right-wing YouTuber if YouTube got an email from the Biden administration telling them, we will take you to court unless you ban this specific YouTuber, this specific right-wing YouTuber, could you imagine what the right's response would have been? It would have been fire and explosions and gunshots in the street, bro. Could you imagine what these people would have done if a Democrat administration pulled something close to this? They nearly burned cities down over Twitter bans. If Elon Musk hadn't bought Twitter by now, I'm pretty sure hundreds more people would have died by now simply because some Nazi psycho would have gone and crashed out and killed a bunch of people because he got banned from Twitter for saying the N-word too many times. Elon Musk buying that platform has probably saved the mental health of a lot of those Nazis because they tend to crash out once they got banned. Who remembers back when Twitter banned Nazis, how they'd react when they got banned? They'd lose their fucking minds. It was crazy. I do think a big path the left needs to be holding out for is the downfall of Elon Musk. If Elon ends up having to, basically, throw in the towel and sell Twitter, and Twitter ends up back under, reasonable management, that alone could be a big step towards healing the internet and America politically from the times it's in right now. Yeah, seeing the crypto bubble pop like the NFT bubble did as well would be big. Crypto's been around longer and has continued to last longer than NFTs ever did, but it is still a bubble, and it will pop. I think a very small group of people will end up benefiting from crypto in the end, and I think most people who get involved in it are just going to keep losing. And, it's just not... I don't think crypto is going to be around in, maybe it'll be around in 10 years, but I don't think it'll be around in 20. I don't think crypto's got long left in this world. And I do think that when all these, shitty tech bro bubbles pop, that's going to be a big part of what helps to, reduce the right stranglehold on the internet and on America right now. Yeah, the AI bubble needs to pop, too. That's a big one. Anyway, If you guys enjoyed this video, if you found it entertaining, enjoyable, or educational in any way whatsoever, please consider leaving a like and a comment down below, whether you're watching in the future or watching this live when it comes out as a stream. I really do appreciate every like. It helps a ton. It's totally free to thumbs up my content, and it forces YouTube to push it out to more people, so I appreciate it immensely. Consider also supporting my content by following my social medias so you get notified through Discord, which is the best place to join, mind you. Whenever I go live or upload, YouTube will oftentimes not tell you, but Discord always will. And in the case of supporting me directly, financially, if you want to help me keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xanderhall studio, then please consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub to someone else on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buy some custom Xanderhall merch through the Streamlabs link down below. Regardless of how you support me, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, have a good one.